Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Sports Talk. I'm John Gerardi, your sports editor here at the paper, and alongside the Dr. Chris Masse as usual. Doc, we don't have a lot local to go on this week, but plenty of national stuff on the agenda, so let's kind of just jump into it. Obviously, the Olympic Games are going on. One big storyline: the U.S. women's soccer team lost in the semifinals to Canada. A bit surprising there to see the U.S. women kind of go down like that, because they've always been at the Olympics, fairly dominant.
Yeah, I think there were. It seemed like even from they lost their first game 3-0 in the prelims, and it just seemed like they never really got on track. I think even the quarterfinals they won in a shootout there, so it felt like there were cracks in the foundation there a little bit. Still shocking to see them lose, but I think they're at a little bit of a crossroads right now where I think some of the players are getting older, and it didn't seem like the chemistry was there that we saw in the World Cup a couple of years ago. So I think it's transition phase for them. But unlike the men, I'm sure they'll be back competing for gold medals soon and doing stuff in the World Cup. Sorry, men's soccer, but I know they won the Gold Cup which is like the NIT tournament or whatever. Yeah. So the women are still supreme when it comes to accepting pay.
Yeah, sadly.
Which is sad.
Yeah. Especially
that's another discussion.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But you brought up a good point about the roster getting old. I mean, you have, like Alex Morgan, Carly Lloyd, Ertz, Rapinoe. You have a lot of that roster that they're talented, and they've done a lot for women's soccer for U.S. women. But I think it's time that they kind of need to bring up some younger blood and get some younger, fresher legs kind of on the roster. And I think that was the main problem this year with why they didn't win gold.
Yeah, I mean they've had a phenomenal run, one of the best in U.S. history. But I think for that core that's been there for these glory years, I think the end is coming. We used to say when Brady was with the Patriots, everybody said the dynasty's over, and then they would keep winning and winning. It could be the same here, but I think the younger girls women are gonna have to start asserting themselves if the U.S. is gonna stay dominant.
And speaking also of the Olympics, Simone Biles came back on Tuesday, won bronze in the beams, the beams, I believe it was. There was people. I mean, I get why she, left early in the competition with her events. I mean, when you're doing events that, jumping that high, doing those twists, and you're disoriented, you don't know which way's up at that point. I mean, that's a huge safety concern there, and I completely understand why she, pulled out of those events. Yeah,
all the idiots like the Clay Travises of the world that are saying, oh, she's not tough enough, and all right, you go up and you go soaring in the air and have no idea where, if you're up or down, and then and try landing safely, and then tell me that she's not tough for for backing out because of that. I mean, you're dealing with a sport where if you don't land properly, I mean, you could get paralyzed. You could break your neck and die. I mean, this is what they're doing is high risk stuff, and if you're disoriented up there and you don't know what's going on, then you've got to think about yourself. So,
and I mean, even
it was sad that all these people were ripping her over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and coming down even normally, I feel that it's not surprising if you would easily shatter an ankle that way. I mean, it's, with all that force coming down right like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she got a lot of criticism for wrong reasons for that regard, and I mean. And the pressure alone, I mean, you're at the Olympic Games, you're considered one of the best. Well, you are the best in your sport and your all that. So that's a lot of pressure to handle, no matter how old you are, how much experience you have, to have all that on you, and then, I mean, to withdraw like that. That's I completely get it on her end.
It's a sad commentary on society. You have no idea what she's going through unless you're actually in her shoes. So to bash her when you have no idea what she's going through or was going through her head. I think it says a lot about your character when you're ripping somebody like that.
Exactly.
So easily.
Yeah. This Olympics has been, I mean, obviously it's in Tokyo. There is a, pandemic going on. So over there there's no fans or anything in the stadium. And watching some of the events, it's just odd and strange to see. Like I was watching the women's volleyball matches, and it's a completely empty stadium. Like you could put them in a random, you can put them over at James Short Park playing in that volleyball area, and it'd be exactly the same. It's just it's weird not to see any fans cheering at the Olympics.
It is kind of bizarre, and you don't hear any. Obviously, you don't hear crowd noise and stuff. It's like even like the NFL last year when they were playing, I almost always had the feeling watching those games that there was still a crowd there because I think they were piping in noise.
Yeah.
And, with the camera angles, you didn't see it. They often didn't pan up there, so it still kind of felt like it was real, even though in many cases they were playing in empty stadiums. But yeah, it doesn't feel that way here. It's kind of bizarre, but that's the world we're in right now, and at least they're getting to play.
Yeah, and I wonder too for the athletes' perspective. I mean, we went the other day in the office. I think it was the 200 in that pouring downpour.
Yeah.
It was like a monsoon on the
hurdles,
track. They're doing the hurdles. That's right. Yeah. But it was weird seeing that because I feel like for those type of events, when the crowd starts getting into it, a lot of those runners, that's when you kind of pick up adrenaline and it kind of motivates you. And I wonder how different it is for them not having that crowd to kind of cheer and get your adrenaline going.
I mean, I know when I was dominating at Garnet Valley back in the day in the 100, the crowd really spurred me on a lot of times. We used to draw some big crowds at Garnet Valley, and so from my experience, it definitely helps you. It boosts you.
I assume was there a huge? I'm assuming it was a packed stadium when you threw the baton in that 400 relay.
Yeah, over at Glen Mills. I didn't know it was frowned upon. That was my first ever race. I was a baseball player running track, and so once we got disqualified, I learned.
That's how life is. You live
and learn.
Exactly.
I didn't do it again. Learned my lesson.
Well, shifting from the Olympics and that to the NFL. We got the NFL Hall of Fame game coming up here, and I think
tomorrow.
This is the last. This week here is the last Sunday until February without football. So it's nice that it's back.
Coming back. Yeah, it's like I get into the NBA and MLB, but not as much as I did when I was a kid. And it's just it's a long off season when you don't have football.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the preseason, it's something, but it's still boring as heck.
Yeah.
So. But we're only a month away from the regular season starting, so that's exciting.
I think it is nice, though, this year there is a preseason. Because obviously last year with COVID, there wasn't, you just kind of went into the season.
Exactly.
So at least with this, there's you get to see kind of how your team's going to stack up a little bit and what you're kind of expecting out of them. Because last year was really just a gamble going into week one. You didn't know what to expect.
It was literally like a box of chocolates, like Forrest Gump's mom would say. You didn't know what you were going to get. And yeah, and not that Tom Brady needs it. He already showed last year. He was like, I'm 108 years old. I got a torn MCL. I'm on a new team that's been garbage for 13 years and hasn't won a playoff game in 18 years. He was like, you know what? Don't give us a preseason or an offseason. Just make the challenge more difficult. And then he went out and won a Super Bowl. I like their chances for 8 this year. You always doubt them. I always have to reassure you, but I think they have a good shot to get number 8 this year.
Most people don't notice, but during the Super Bowl, whenever Brady's in the Super Bowl, Masse and I always text each other because Masse, of course, is a doubter during the Super Bowl until that final whistle goes, and then he's like, never a doubt.
Yep.
And you would swear I was the biggest Brady fan because I'm telling you they're going to win. He's going to go down, and sure enough. But I mean, what have you seen much from your Niners? What are you kind of expecting out of them, especially at the quarterback position this year?
I'm optimistic. They just got to stay healthy. I mean, last year was a disaster at 6-10 coming off the Super Bowl berth, but they were never healthy. I mean, from week 2
Garoppolo
on,
was out, and
he played I think he played 4 or 5 games, and then after week 8 he was gone. So unlike most of the Niners fans, I still like Jimmy G because all they ever do is win when he's in there. So I like the setup there with Trey Lance there, not having to be rushed into the position. And I think it'll make Jimmy G better knowing that the position, that he doesn't have a stranglehold on the position, that he's got some heat now. So I think they'll be pretty tough.
I don't get the fans kind of there's a lot they're saying let's trade Garoppolo or cut him, and I mean, like you said, it's not like they're struggling when he's in the game. They're winning.
Yeah,
just keep him healthy, and
that's the thing. Yeah, he's his record's 23-8, 24-8, something like that when he's in the lineup. That's the only thing I don't like about him is that he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah.
when he did stay healthy for a full season, they went to the Super Bowl, and you look at what happened last year. So they just if they're healthy, they're going to be in the mix.
I'm curious how, for both the Eagles and the Steelers, kind of how their season is going to shape up. Because, I mean, Eagles, obviously, they got rid of Wentz, traded him to Indy. Yeah. They got Jalen Hurts there. I'm curious to see how he'll do this year. And on the flip side for Pittsburgh, I'm curious how Roethlisberger is going to do with, how, I mean, he's obviously getting up there in age. And, he's the only one left from that draft class with him, Eli, and Rivers. Yeah. They both kind of sputtered there towards the end a little bit. So I'm curious how Big Ben's going to do this year.
Yeah, I mean, to the first point, I kind of had with the Eagles, I think they might be a dumpster fire this year. They were kind of a dumpster fire last year, but the whole NFC East was.
Exactly.
So they were in the division hunt until like the second to last week. But they've got a lot of holes to fill, and I'm not sure about Hurts. They were ready to crown him after one game last year.
Yeah.
I was like, let's see how he does it.
Yeah, I like him. I just think
he could be really exciting, but we got to see it for more than 2 to 3 weeks here.
Exactly.
And that's a big part. If your quarterback isn't playing well in this day and age, especially, you can't hide your quarterback. So that'll go a long way in determining how good they are. But beyond him, they've got a lot of holes to fill. So I think it could be a long season for Philly. Pittsburgh, they always seem to figure it out, but. Roethlisberger, I thought, started showing his age a lot last year towards the end. They got off to a great start. They were 11-0. He was pulling out games for him, and I think he's taken a lot of poundings over the years, and I think the end is near for him. And I don't really know if they have a backup plan in case he does get hurt or he does really start to struggle this year. But I still like their defense. I think Najee Harris at running back is going to boost their running game. So
yeah.
I still think I think the Ravens, and it still feels weird saying this, the Browns are the two teams to beat in that division, but the Steelers you can't sleep on them. They'll still be there fighting for it.
Yeah, I think last year, too. I mean, the Browns have been the Browns for a while.
Until last
probably
year.
before I was born, around that time. And but I feel like last year, that run they had in going into the postseason and what they did, I think that's going to be a huge confidence boost for them coming into this season. Because it shows that they can win, they can get to that next step.
They know they can do it now because they've done it. It's one thing to just talk about it and say we're going to reverse the culture and stuff, but they did it. And not only that, then they went into Pittsburgh and beat them. Pittsburgh has just haunted them for years and years and years. And to win that playoff game and then almost beat Kansas City, I think does a lot for them. Mm-hmm. The only thing I'm curious to see, last year they were able to sneak up on everybody because I don't think anybody thought they were going to be good last year.
Yeah.
Now a lot of people, there's some people even saying they're a Super Bowl contender, which I think on paper they are. So curious to see how Cleveland handles this because this is a position they haven't been in probably since the Bernie Kosar. Well, actually since 1995 they were going into the year they were a Super Bowl contender. Then in the middle of the season they said we're moving to Baltimore and it all blew up. So and they've been trying to recover ever since. And then to pour salt in the wound, the Ravens went on. The team that was the Browns went on to win the Super Bowl in 2000. So Cleveland Browns history in a nutshell.
Yeah, they've had a rough long stretch there.
It's been tortured. I was a kid watching them and the drive against the Broncos and then the fumble the next year. And even in 1985, they had a 21-3 lead against Miami in the playoffs. They blew that. Red Right 88 in 1980. I mean, it's a tortured fan base. They had their glory years in the 50s and into the 60s. But man, if you've been a diehard Browns fan since the 70s, God bless you, because it's been tough. All those heartbreakers and then just awful for so long. And even last year when they did lose in the playoffs, it was kind of a heartbreaker. Yeah,
my one friend in high school, he lived in Ohio when he moved over here, and he's a diehard Browns fan. I'm like, man, you've had some. I'm a Chargers fan. I've had some rough years too, but Browns fans, that's a rough. I feel like Brown and my uncle's a diehard since the 60s or 70s. He's been a diehard Detroit Lions fan, so he's had a long rough stretch.
That is brutal. The funny thing is if you met somebody from the early 50s and in a time machine and you were like, hey, who are the dominant teams right now? It'd be the Browns and Lions. Because they met in like 3 or so. I think they played in like 3 NFL championships in the 50s. You're like, wait, what? Am I in the Twilight Zone? The Browns and Lions. Strangely enough, that's how it was.
Well, I think that'll do it for us this week. We're in August here, and it's kind of crazy that 2 weeks we got Little League. I mean, the Little League World Series is going to be here soon enough, and I'm going to be working on some soccer previews here for high school soccer soon. I feel like the older you get, the more summer just flies by.
Fast, yeah. I think practices are going to start probably in 2 weeks or so. Because I know opening night for Friday, we're 3 weeks, just about 3 weeks away from 3 weeks from Friday. So I'm excited. I can't get here soon enough. And
I'm excited for the fall season to start. Especially summer. I mean, we have the cross cutters to cover, which is nice, and Little League All Stars like Hepburn coming stuff. We had to run. That was nice to cover. But it's nice when you get back into the full season, you get that constant. Every day there's something that you can cover and get out to. That's always nice. Yeah,
can't wait. And there's just something different about high school sports. You're representing your school, the whole community, and just the atmosphere is great. And fingers crossed. Hopefully we can get this COVID under control and we can have a normal high school season this year with not a lot of the stops and breaks that we had last year.
Because I talked to, for the football magazine, I'm doing a story about how practices are kind of back to normal a little bit, and I talked to Chuck Cruz, Williamsport's coach, and I was like, hopefully we can get as close to normal as we can in terms of fans in the stands compared to last year. And he said that's the one thing that was just eerie from last year.
Absolutely.
It's like, you're used to the band out there, the cheerleaders going nuts, the fans screaming. It's just without that, football Fridays don't have the same feel.
No, it was still fun to cover the games, obviously, but it's so much different when you have the fans there and the bands playing and cheerleaders, and it's one of the best atmospheres in sports, I think. So
absolutely,
hopefully it works out this year.
Yep. All right, well, that'll do it, guys, for Sports Talk. I'm John Gerardi alongside Doc Masse, and we'll see you guys again next week.